N is for neglect. Hi, I'm Bec from Be Free Emotional Fitness Training, and I support women and girls to become emotionally stronger.
And I'm Vern from Move Forward Mentoring, and I specialise in male mentoring, helping boys and men find their passion, speak from their heart, and build better relationships.
And together we are Rekindling Relationships. We work with couples through mentoring sessions as well as facilitating communication and creative workshops to build deeper connections.
Welcome to our podcast, designed to help you strengthen and bring more fun into your partnership, as well as create a more loving, healthy, and strong connection. Hi everyone. Today we're talking about neglect, emotional neglect, and what it is, and how we can do something about it.
So what is it?
Some people see emotional neglect as a form of emotional abuse. I read somewhere where it was called the silent cousin of emotional abuse, where emotional abuse is about manipulating someone's emotions to hurt or control them. Emotional neglect is instead about denying someone else's feelings and emotional needs. Why do you think people do it?
I think sometimes people don't realise they're actually doing it, and it's probably stemming from an old habit or something they've seen growing up, or maybe they've been emotionally neglected growing up. So therefore they're copying that example that's been set for them.
So people have grown up in a household where there wasn't a close connection with their caregivers or with their siblings, and they're just repeating that same pattern as they grow older. Emotional neglect can really harm a relationship because we all know if you're ignored, if someone doesn't pay attention to you, eventually you just sort of feel less valued and want to get away.
You're not going to thrive in that relationship, and you're not getting what you need. So what does it look like in a relationship? Because I think that's important, because I think a lot of people might not realise that they're doing it.
Or you might be thinking to yourself, am I being neglected? What does that look like? Well, one is not making eye contact. When you don't make eye contact, if your partner doesn't make eye contact with you, or you're not making eye contact with them, if you're not acknowledging them, then you're sort of avoiding each other. That's when you've had to say something. You have to just say, hey, is everything okay? Can we talk about it? We need to be more present with each other. We need to be able to look at each other when we speak.
They're checking out.
Yeah, there's a sense of checking out there, isn't there?
2 is forgetting important dates. I think that's a really good one, because it could be things like your birthday, an anniversary, Valentine's Day. These are really special dates. And if they're being forgotten, then you won't feel very valued, or the relationship won't be very valued.
Stonewalling or shutting down during conversations can be really neglectful. And I know it's something that you hate.
Oh, I hate it so much, with a passion.
Tell me about that.
Well, I think it's incredibly immature. I'm going to call that. But I think, 2, you can't get anywhere. You can't resolve a problem when someone shuts you out.
And you don't feel like someone's listening to you or your needs, do you?
Not at all. So grow up and have a conversation. Failing to congratulate you on important events.
So not really noticing. It's sort of like we were saying before about the dates or the specific dates. It's also not recognizing when someone does something and that's really important to them.
Acknowledging something that's important to them, but it doesn't show you're proud of your partner. And I think that's always a really nice feeling when you think your partner's proud of you.
Another aspect of stonewalling can be that you just don't want to have a disagreement with the other partner. And disagreements are part of relationships and can be quite a healthy part of a relationship. Then you get to see where that person stands, and then you can work towards a compromise or some common ground. But if you refuse to even be involved in a disagreement, if you just step out, it seems like you're not very invested in that relationship and what that person wants.
It's not about having an argument or a disagreement. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's how you argue or disagree. But when people don't even want to step into a disagreement to resolve something, because you can come out stronger. But if someone's not even willing to go there, then sometimes the relationship can become very stagnant.
I think not being empathetic towards your partner and what they need, if we get caught up in our own lives, and I feel that I can do that occasionally. I'll get caught up in my work. I'll get caught up in the things that I need to do, and I'm not as present with you, and then I'm not reading the signals. And then I'll notice it and I'll be like, oh, hang on, something's going on here. Wake up, Vern. Take notice. This might be important. Being oblivious to your partner's feelings is emotional neglect because you're just checking out from what they need.
Getting defensive is another one.
And that can happen in a disagreement. So rather than checking out, completely out, and not wanting to step in, getting defensive whenever someone calls you on something.
That shuts down the conversation, doesn't it? Instead of opens it up. Being consistent is another one. And that would look like not sticking to your word, making promises and breaking them and not being reliable. Not only is that frustrating, you feel like you can't trust that person to ever stand by what they say.
Yeah, so it doesn't show integrity, does it?
No.
One that really bugs me is when people are late all the time. And I was in a relationship where my partner at the time was consistently late. They were always 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes late to everything, even to go to the movies. And I constantly felt like I was having to harass them to be on time. But what it meant to me was that person didn't actually really care about my time. They weren't valuing my time, so therefore they weren't valuing me.
Actually, this one pisses me off too. So even if it's consistently late, and I know sometimes things come up and people are late for a good reason, but if it's consistently, even 10 minutes late, you're just putting your time ahead as more valuable and you don't mind letting other people wait for you. I think it just shows no respect. This showed up for me the other day and it's something I really hate as well. But we were driving to my son's friend's house. Sorry, no we weren't. We were meeting them in the bush for a walk. We were running very tight for time. And I said to my son, "Oh, do you reckon I've got time to quickly grab a coffee? I'd really love a coffee." And he looked at me and he goes, "Well, is your time more important than hers?" And I was like, you know what? Good point. Yeah. No, it's not. So I said, no, I won't grab a coffee. I'll do that after. Okay, keep me humble, that's for sure.
Another sign of emotional neglect is when your partner walks away while you're talking to them. They're busy and distracted and they don't give you attention. And this comes back to a podcast of ours, which was love languages and quality time. So that when you're talking to that person, you want them to be giving you your undivided attention. You want them to be really listening to you to show that you love them, so that you care. When your partner is not listening or walking away, then it shows that your conversation isn't that important and they don't really pay any attention to you. They're not really taking notice of you.
If they seem distracted and busy, you don't seem important and you'd feel neglected and not valued.
The next one is one that you've actually really struggled in past relationships with.
Yes, never being the one to make plans. So if they don't put in that effort to make time for you, dates, plans, dinner, even a walk, things like that. Holidays, I know that's a bigger thing, but if they don't put in that effort to make plans, again, you don't feel important.
If you as a person realize that the other person, your partner, is always creating opportunities for you to do fun things together and you're not, then you're just sort of sitting back and letting it all happen. You're not really showing them that you care.
I think another sign of neglect is when you're asking for comfort if you're emotionally upset and they're not reciprocating that request. So not a hug or a listening ear or any kind of comfort, whatever that looks like for you, that's a sign of emotional neglect.
I understand with relationships that have been going together for a while that you might tend to forget things that you should, but then maybe that's a sign to go, oh, I have to make some notes. I know when someone remembers something about you that's important, it makes you feel good. If you're very forgetful and you want to be more present with your partner, it might mean that when they say something important that's important to them and that you recognize that, you write it down, you make a note of it. So that way you know that thing is important to them. And by writing it down, you're probably going to stick it in your memory. And it means that you can work towards being more emotionally connected rather than neglectful.
Yeah, that's right. And if any of these that we mentioned happen to trigger you where you're like, oh, that might be something that I do, because we might actually in some form do maybe one or two of those and go, oh, that's something I need to work on. Give it a shot, because once you adjust that, there's much more happiness in being giving to your partner, because a lot of these are about giving to your partner.
It's about giving them space, time, energy, words.
Giving of yourself to them. And if you're shut down emotionally and not giving of yourself, you're not getting what you need from the relationship. They're not getting what they need. It's not a satisfying relationship. So just try it. Open up. Any of those that might be triggering you that you need to work on it. You'll be happier for it. And so will your partner.
Great ideas and some great conversations to be had. Because if you are feeling like your partner's being emotionally neglectful, or that you are, then having a conversation and drawing attention to these things, to these signs, then allows for there to be an opportunity to do something about them. Sitting back and hoping your partner's going to change and wishing that it could happen might not work. It might be that your partner grew up in a space where they were being emotionally neglected, so they don't know how to do these things and might need your support and help. Drawing attention to it and saying, I feel like this, when you do that, actually allows for change to happen. You're not trying to shame or blame them. You're just trying to express to them how it's making you feel and what's going on for you.
Think about the example set for your kids. So it made me think about the other day when I was meeting with a friend, and if I had have gone, oh, you know what, it's only 5-10 minutes, I'm going to be late, I'm going to go get that coffee, my son would have thought that's okay to do, and he may mimic that in future relationships. And that can cause problems because I'm obviously would have been setting an example that my time's more important and I don't value her time. And that's not the example we want to set. So again, set the example. It has a roll-on effect.
And that is a good part of getting this right and actually working on this together, because you are setting up the next generation to do this better.
Saves them a lot of heartache and headache.
This episode, we spoke about emotional neglect and the different types, and also what you can do about it. Please join us for our next episode.
You're going to love this one. O is for orgasm. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe and follow us.
And check out our website at rekindlingrelationships.com.
Bye for now.
See ya.